I used to think silence was gentle. A warm, soft thing. But the silence in my house, it was sharp. Metallic. The kind that cuts your confidence one layer at a time. Maybe it started the day smartphones took over the world. Or maybe it started earlier, when my children slowly stopped asking for my advice and started assuming I couldn't understand anything modern. But the moment I realized something had shifted forever, was the night my daughter laughed at me in front of everyone. It was a Sunday family dinner, the one night a week my house felt alive again. The dining table was loud, full of stories and overlapping voices, until they handed me a phone. "Mom, just open the app," Lily said, pushing her expensive new phone into my hand like it was a harmless piece of fruit. "You keep complaining you can't order your prescriptions. This is easy." Her brother, Jackson, chuckled. "Yeah, Mom. You just tap the icon. Don't tell me you can't even do that." I forced a smile. They didn't mean to be cruel. Or maybe they did, just a little, without realizing. My fingers fumbled. The phone felt foreign, slippery, almost judgmental. The tiny colorful squares on the screen looked like a child's puzzle that everyone understood except me. "Mom, no, not that one." Lily groaned. "That's the camera, you're taking pictures of your feet." The kids burst out laughing. My cheeks burned. I'm just trying," I whispered. "Trying?" Jackson scoffed. "You refuse to learn. It's 2025, Mom. No one uses paper anymore." They laughed again. And in that moment, I felt about 100 years older. The night got worse. At dessert, they joked about how their prehistoric mother still used cash, still wrote grocery lists on paper, still kept physical bills in a cabinet instead of letting technology simplify her life. Lily rolled her eyes at me. "Mom, honestly, you'd survive one day without us if you actually used your brain." That one hurt. More than she knew. I didn't say anything. Not because I didn't want to, but because I couldn't trust my voice not to crack. When dinner was over and the house emptied, the silence finally returned. But this time it felt like a wide, dark room swallowing me whole. I stood alone at the sink, washing their dishes with my wrinkled hands, the laughter from earlier replaying in my head like a punishment. Old. Slow. Useless. That's what they thought. But as I placed each plate into the drying rack, my chest tightened, not just with hurt, but with something stronger. I wasn't stupid. I wasn't weak. I had raised these children alone after their father died. I had balanced bills, managed a home, survived grief. If I could endure losing a husband, I could endure learning technology. And so, that night, when the house was finally asleep, I went to my closet and opened a drawer they didn't know I used anymore. Inside was the old tablet they gave me 2 Christmases ago, still in the box, untouched. At the time, I didn't want to embarrass myself by asking how to turn it on. Now, I was done being embarrassed. I plugged it in. The screen lit up, glowing in the dark like a small moon. "Hello," it said. "Hello," I whispered back, feeling ridiculous, yet weirdly hopeful. I tapped the icons carefully. Slowly. Wrong many times. But I kept going. I stayed up until 3 a.m. My eyes ached. My hand trembled. But I learned how to search things. How to open apps. How to read emails. How to recognize suspicious messages. Hours passed before I finally closed the tablet. For the first time in years, I felt proud of myself. But I had no idea that my late-night efforts, my quiet determination, would uncover something far darker than I ever imagined. Something my children, with all their tech knowledge, completely missed. Something that was already bleeding my family dry. And the only person who would notice was the woman they laughed at. Because while my children mocked me for not understanding technology, they had no idea someone online was slowly stealing everything from them, and I was the only one who could stop it. For the next few days, I lived 2 separate lives. In the daylight, I stayed quiet, moving around the house slowly, careful not to draw attention. My kids already thought of me as fragile, easily confused. I didn't want to prove them right. But at night? At night I became someone else entirely. As soon as the lights dimmed and the house grew still, I slipped the tablet out of its drawer like a forbidden secret. I watched tutorials, hundreds of them. How to type. How to swipe. How to open files. How to navigate settings, a phrase that sounded like science fiction to me. My hand shook at first. The letters on the keyboard felt too small, mocking almost. But I kept going. Hour after hour. Night after night. And slowly, the tablet stopped feeling like a foreign object and started feeling like a doorway. A doorway into a world I was never supposed to understand. One night, about a week into my secret lessons, I accidentally tapped something I didn't recognize. A tiny envelope icon. Emails. To my horror, the screen opened instantly. Because the tablet was connected to Lily's old account. I froze. My instinct was to close it immediately, respect her privacy, stay out of her life, avoid causing trouble. But then I saw it. An unread message at the top, final notice, immediate action required. My stomach dropped. Final notice? For what? I tapped it with my trembling finger. A logo appeared at the top, some online investment platform I'd never heard of. Below it, lines of text explaining that her account was overdrawn. That charges were continuing to pile up. That she needed to deposit more money to protect her assets. Assets? Lily didn't have any assets. The tone of the email was aggressive, urgent. But something felt off. Too many spelling errors. Too much pressure. Too many threats. I didn't know much about the digital world, but I knew scams, real-life scams. My late husband had warned me about people who preyed on fear. I stared at the message for almost a full minute. Then, feeling guilty but terrified, I opened Lily's banking notifications, something I could only do because she had logged into this tablet years ago and never logged out. And what I saw made my heart crash against my ribs. Withdrawals. Small at first. Then bigger. Then frequent. All labeled things like service fee, account verification charge, automated protection billing. Hundreds of dollars gone. Then thousands. A scam. A sophisticated, ongoing scam. My daughter, the same one who laughed at me for not knowing how to turn on a phone, was being drained dry. My throat tightened, panic rising like water in my chest. I clicked deeper. More emails. More threats. More withdrawals. Someone was bleeding her bank account, and she didn't even realize it. I sat there shaking, the glow of the tablet lighting my terrified reflection in the dark screen. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want it to be real. I didn't want to snoop any further. But I had to. Because if I didn't, who would? Not Jackson. He barely noticed his sister unless she needed help moving furniture or splitting a dinner bill. Not Lily herself. She was confident, stubborn, dismissive, exactly the kind of person scammers adore. And certainly not her friends. They lived their lives as if consequences didn't exist. I wiped my face and took a breath. Then I checked Jackson's emails too. I shouldn't have. I felt sick doing it. But I had a feeling I couldn't shake. And when his inbox opened, my blood ran cold. He wasn't losing money. He was losing something worse. His identity. Emails from credit agencies. Alerts about accounts opened in his name. Requests for payment from companies he'd never bought from. Identity theft. I stared at both screens, heart thundering so loudly it echoed off the bedroom walls. My children, the ones who mocked me for being helpless, were drowning in digital danger they didn't even know they'd stepped into. And they had no idea how close they were to losing everything. But I knew. I saw it clearly. Clearly enough that it hurt. Someone in this digital world was hunting them. And I, the woman who supposedly couldn't understand technology, was the only one standing between my family and ruin. But uncovering the scam was one thing. Stopping it meant exposing secrets my children didn't want me to see, including the one email that revealed who the scammer really was. I didn't sleep at all that night. I sat at the kitchen table, the tablet glowing in front of me like a lantern in a storm. My eyes burned. My back ached. My hands trembled so much I had to hold my coffee mug with both of them just to keep it steady. By morning, I hadn't figured out everything, but I'd discovered enough to know one thing. My children were in danger. Real danger. And not the kind you can fix with a phone call or a password reset. Someone was watching them. Tracking them. Stealing from them piece by piece. But the question scratching at my skull was simple and terrifying. Who? Part of me wanted to wake them up immediately, shake them, scream at them to look at their screens, their accounts, their lives. But if I was wrong, if I was misunderstanding something, I would just become the paranoid old woman in their eyes. I couldn't risk that. Not yet. So I kept digging. Lily came downstairs mid-morning, yawning, scrolling through her phone like the world owed her a perfect day. "Morning, Mom," she said casually, not noticing the darkness under my eyes. "Did you sleep?" "Yes," I lied. She grabbed a granola bar and disappeared back upstairs, completely unaware her bank account was being drained like a punctured bucket. When she was gone, I sat back down and opened her emails again. That's when I noticed something I hadn't seen before. A message in her sent folder addressed to someone called Daniel K. The subject line was harmless, "Thank you for helping me." Smiling face with smiling eyes. My stomach knotted. I opened it. Inside was a long message from Lily, written in her bubbly, casual way, thanking someone for explaining how investments work and for sending helpful links and for making everything so easy. At the end, she had even written, "I trust you, you're so patient with me," grinning face with sweat. And his reply? Cold. Calculated. Effortless. "Of course, Lily. Anything for you. Remember, don't tell your mom or brother until your account has grown more. Some people don't understand digital investment. Let me guide you privately." I felt sick. He was isolating her. On purpose. Using her pride and fear of looking inexperienced to keep her silent. But what shattered me completely was the name in the signature. Daniel Kruger. A stranger. A predator. A man who pretended to be her mentor while siphoning money from her bank. And worst of all, he wasn't just emailing her. He was emailing Jackson too. I opened Jackson's inbox again, scrolling carefully. But then I froze. There it was. A message sent 2 months ago. "Welcome, Jackson. Your sister recommended me," smiling face with smiling eyes. My heart collapsed in on itself. This man wasn't just stealing from them. He had used Lily to reach Jackson. He had dug his claws into both of them. And then, as if fate wanted to stab me one more time, another email popped up at the top of the inbox. A new message. From Daniel. I opened it. "Lily, don't worry about the warnings from your bank. Those are automatic. Ignore them. I need one more transfer tonight so we can lock in this week's gains." I pressed my hand to my mouth to keep from crying out. One more transfer? They had nothing left to lose. My chest tightened, my pulse hammering against my ribs. Anger, sharp, hot, and unfamiliar, rose inside me like a flame. This man thought I was too old, too slow, too naive to understand what he was doing. He thought my children were easy prey. He thought he could hide behind screens and digital shadows. He thought no one would catch him. He thought wrong. I didn't know everything about technology. But I knew my children. I knew fear. I knew danger. And I knew when someone was crossing a line. I would not let this man destroy my family. Not after everything we'd survived. Not while I still had breath in my lungs. I picked up the tablet, my hands shaking from a cocktail of fury and adrenaline. If this Daniel wanted secrecy, fine. I would give him secrecy. But it wouldn't be the kind he expected. Because the next email he received wasn't from Lily or Jackson, it was from me. And I wrote it knowing it might expose the darkest truth of all, that he wasn't a stranger at all. I stared at the blank email window for a long time before typing a single word. My hands hovered over the keyboard, stiff with fear and trembling with rage. What did I even say? How does a mother confront a predator who has wrapped himself around her children like a snake? Slowly, I began to type. Hello, Daniel. I have some questions about my children's accounts. I didn't sign my name. I didn't need to. If this man was half as clever as he thought he was, he would know exactly who I was. I hesitated before hitting send, but then I pressed the button with the same force I used when slamming a window shut on a storm. It didn't take him long. 20 minutes later, while I paced the kitchen like a trapped animal, the tablet chimed. A reply. I opened it. And my blood turned to ice. Lily? Is that you? If your mom took the tablet, I hope you know she can't help you. She doesn't understand any of this. He knew. He knew someone else was writing. He knew my children were vulnerable. He knew exactly how to undermine me before I had even spoken. I sat down, my palms sweating. But then something inside me hardened, something ancient, something maternal, something that had survived grief, loneliness, and humiliation. I typed again. I am their mother. And I understand more than you think. This time his reply came fast. Ma'am, with respect, your children came to me because you don't understand modern systems. I'm only trying to help. Help. The same word a thief uses when he offers to carry your bags. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I began searching through his previous emails. And that's when I found it. A slip. A crack. A mistake he probably didn't realize he made. An older message from months ago. Sent from a different address. A shorter one. A more familiar one. The sender name was still Daniel, but the signature was different. It read. DK. My heart jumped. Those initials. They tugged at something in my memory. Something from years ago. Something from when Jackson was still in high school. I opened Jackson's old graduation photos, something I'd stored on the tablet long ago and forgotten. My hand flew to my mouth. There he was. Standing beside Jackson, arm around my son, smiling like a friend, a face I hadn't seen in years. A boy who used to eat at my table. A boy who slept over in Jackson's room. A boy whose parents eventually kicked him out for stealing. Daniel Kruger. Older now. Sharper. Colder. But unmistakably the same. He wasn't some stranger online. He was someone my children once trusted. Someone who had been in my home. Someone who knew our weaknesses. A cold chill swept through me. I clicked back to his latest emails with shaking hands. He wasn't targeting random victims. He was targeting people he knew. People who wouldn't suspect him. People he had watched grow up. My children. My family. Someone knocked on the front door, making me jump so violently I almost dropped the tablet. I wasn't expecting anyone. It was too early for mail. Too late for neighbors. My breath caught. Another knock, louder. Mom? Jackson's voice echoed from upstairs. Did you order something? No, I called back, throat tight. My legs felt weak as I approached the door. I peeked through the small window beside it. And my stomach flipped. A young man stood outside. A man with a hood pulled over his head. A man with a face I recognized, even through the distorted glass. Daniel. He wasn't just behind the screen anymore. He was on my porch. Watching my house. Watching me. Waiting. The tablet buzzed again in my hand. Another email. Ma'am, we need to talk. You don't want to make a mistake. Mistake? The only mistake was letting him get this close. I backed away from the door, my pulse roaring in my ears. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about bank accounts. This wasn't about technology or emails or scams. This was about a man who thought he had the right to walk into my children's lives again, and take whatever he wanted. He underestimated me. They all did. But he was about to learn the one thing every mother carries like armor. You can mock me. You can underestimate me. But you never threaten my children. Because when I opened that door, I didn't just face a scammer. I faced the ghost of a boy I once fed at my own table. And he wasn't alone. For a moment, I stood frozen behind the door, my breath shallow, my heart punching against my ribs like it wanted out. This wasn't some distant online danger anymore, not lines of threatening text on a screen. It was real. It was flesh and bone. It was standing on my porch. Jackson came halfway down the stairs. You okay, Mom? Who is it? Go back upstairs, I said quietly. He blinked. Why? Because I said so. My voice had an edge I hadn't heard in years. Jackson hesitated, then slowly returned upstairs, leaving me alone with my shaking hands and a shadow waiting outside. I gripped the doorknob, swallowed hard, and opened it, only a few inches. There he was. Daniel Kruger. Older than when he used to raid my fridge and laugh with my son in the living room. Older, but not wiser. His jaw was sharp, his eyes restless, flicking from the porch to the windows like he was checking who could see him. Mrs. Carter, he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Long time. His voice had changed too. More confidence. More poison. I didn't open the door any further. What do you want? I asked. His smile widened. I think you know. I didn't respond. He leaned a shoulder against the doorframe, casual, too casual for someone who was stealing from my children. You weren't supposed to see those emails, he said softly. Lily trusts me. Jackson said I could help him. I'm just managing things. Stealing things, I corrected. His expression didn't even flinch. You're confused, he said. This tech stuff isn't your world. You don't get how modern investments work. Ah. There it was. The same tone my children used. The same dismissal. The same assumption that age meant ignorance. Only this time, there was venom beneath it. And you think, I said, my voice quiet, that I'm too old to see what you're doing. He shrugged. I think you're not equipped to handle the truth. And I think you're about to make this very unpleasant if you don't give me back access to those accounts. I felt my fingers dig into the edge of the door. You already drained them, I snapped. There's nothing left to take. He smiled lazily. Not true. There's always more to take. That's when I noticed something chilling. He wasn't alone. A second figure sat in a dark car parked across the street, engine running, headlights off. This wasn't just a digital scammer. He had a partner. A lookout. A driver. He wasn't here to talk. He was here to finish what he'd started. I pushed the door a little closer shut, but he wedged his hand in before it closed. Let go, I warned. He laughed softly. Relax. We're just clearing up a misunderstanding. It was subtle, but I heard movement upstairs, Lily's footsteps, Jackson's muted voice. My kids were awake. Listening. Worried. I straightened, tightening my grip on the door. What misunderstanding? I demanded. He leaned in so close I could smell the stale cologne on his jacket. That your kids are smarter than you, he whispered. They're not. They get scared easily. They trust too fast. They rely on the wrong people. And you rely on them being blind, I said. His smile dropped. A flicker of anger replaced it. You need to give me access, he hissed. Now. No. He gritted his teeth. Do you understand what I can do to them? My blood turned to ice. Every instinct inside me screamed. He wasn't threatening their money anymore. He was threatening them. And in that single moment, something inside me snapped, not in fear, but in fury. The same fire that lit inside me when I saw my husband lying cold in a hospital bed. The same fire that kept me going when I raised 2 kids alone. The same fire they called weakness, but was actually the backbone of everything I'd ever survived. I met his eyes, steady, fierce. You don't get to threaten my family, I said. Not anymore. He stared at me, stunned. Then, amused. Then you're making a very bad mistake, Mrs. Carter. I slammed the door in his face so hard the frame shook. He punched it once, furious, before stomping down the porch steps and getting into the car. The engine roared. I backed away, breath shaking, chest tight. Upstairs, I heard Lily whisper, "Mom, what's happening?" But before I could answer, the tablet buzzed, again. A final email from Daniel. If you won't give me access, I'll take it myself. Tonight. Because that was the moment I realized, this wasn't just a scam anymore. It was a hunt. And the only person who knew the rules of the game, was the woman they thought couldn't even open an app. I locked the door, turned the deadbolt, and pressed my back against it as the car sped off into the night. My whole body trembled, not from fear, but from the terrifying clarity of what I had to do. My kids came rushing down the stairs. Mom! Lily cried. We heard yelling. Who was that? What's going on? Jackson looked pale, eyes darting toward the windows. Mom, was that someone we know? I took a deep, steady breath. Sit down, I said. They hesitated, shocked by the firmness in my voice, but they obeyed. The 3 of us gathered around the kitchen table, the same place where they had once laughed at me for not understanding technology. Now? They were scared. And they were looking to me. I opened the tablet, my hand steady for the first time in weeks. We need to talk, I said quietly, about what you've both been hiding. Their eyes widened. Jackson shifted uncomfortably. Lily's face went white. I opened Lily's inbox. She gasped. Mom, why are you? Because someone was draining your bank account, I said. And you didn't even know. Her lips trembled. What? That's not true, Daniel wouldn't. Yes, I cut in, he would. And he did. Then I opened Jackson's emails. Identity theft warnings. Fraud alerts. Collections notices. He stared at the screen, horrified. No, no, no. Mom, this can't be real, he whispered. It is real, I said firmly. And the man behind it is the same Daniel you trusted in high school. Lily looked like she might faint. But, he said he was helping us, he knew about investments, He used you, I said sharply. Both of you. He wanted access to your accounts because he knew you wouldn't question him. And he thought I was too old and too stupid to ever see it. Their faces crumpled, not with guilt, but with realization. Mom, we're so sorry, Jackson whispered. But there was no time for tears. I opened the last email, the one he sent after pounding on my door. If you won't give me access, I'll take it myself. Tonight. Both of my kids flinched. Lily's voice shook. What do we do? I drew a deep breath. We fight back, I said. Their heads snapped up. But, we don't know how, Jackson began. I do. They stared at me, confused. I stood, my spine straightening with a strength I hadn't felt in years. All this time, I said softly, you thought I couldn't learn technology. But while you laughed, I studied. While you mocked me, I paid attention. And while you ignored the signs, I uncovered everything. I turned on the kitchen lights full force. We're going to secure your accounts. Every password, every recovery email, every financial login. Right now. We worked for hours, the three of us sitting together, shoulder to shoulder, resetting everything from bank credentials to credit freezes. I guided them through reporting fraud, contacting their bank, locking down their identities. For once, they followed my lead. And then I helped them draft one final message, to Daniel. A message that wasn't written out of fear, but out of power. We know who you are. The accounts are locked. The authorities have been contacted. Do not return. Lily pressed send with trembling fingers. And for the first time all night, I exhaled. When we were finished, Jackson leaned back, staring at me with a mixture of shock and awe. Mom, how did you learn all this? I looked at my hands, the same hands they once said were too slow, too shaky, too old. I learned because I had to, I said. Because when you become a mother, you do whatever it takes. Lily silently reached over and grabbed my hand. Mom, we were wrong, she whispered. Tears filled her eyes. You're not behind. You're not fragile. You're stronger than both of us. I didn't answer. Not because I couldn't. But because hearing those words healed something inside me I didn't realize was still bleeding. When dawn finally broke, the house felt different. Lighter. Safer. United. Daniel never came back. His burner email accounts disappeared. His car never returned. The police traced his digital trail. And my children, they finally understood who I really was. They had mocked me. Underestimated me. Dismissed me. But in the end, I was the one who saved them. Not with strength. Not with youth. Not with technology. But with the one thing no scammer can ever steal. A mother's determination. Because they thought I didn't know technology, when all along, the real power I had was knowing how to protect my family when the world they trusted fell apart. In the end, I wasn't the one who knew the most technology. I was simply the one who cared enough to see the danger hiding behind every screen. And sometimes, that's all it takes to save the people who once laughed at you. If this story moved you, even a little, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss another dark, powerful tale from Granny's Untold Stories. And if you know someone who still believes old people can't learn, share this video. Because sometimes the person the world underestimates is the one who saves it.